Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to week 9 of Go Healthy Plus. Hope everybody's having a great Wednesday so far. As you can see here on the PowerPoint, your ninth tracker is due today. So if you haven't submitted your tracker, definitely make sure you do today so you can get credit for that. Also, remember, I do have everyone's mic on mute. So if you'd like to ask a question or to comment, you can definitely take your mic off mute. Of course, you also know about the chat feature where you can send any comments or questions through the chat. All right. Also, I am recording this and I will remind you of this at the very end about posting that. Okay. Now, like usual, I'm just going to remove my camera and I will pop back on during the question part. What we're going to do today is we're going to start off discussing the success of last week's action steps. Then we will get to the topic of the day, which is called overcoming physical activity barriers. So hopefully you had a chance to review all of those barriers and all of the strategies to overcome those barriers uh, today. Then we will answer your discussion questions. Then we will introduce the week's action steps and then next week's topic. And then, of course, give you a reminder about next week's tracker, okay? All right. So if you do remember last week, we gave you a definition between physical activity and exercise. And we said basically that physical activity is any movement done by the body that requires energy above just a seating or lying state. Okay. So anything that gets you moving does count toward physical activity in general. But we said exercise, it's actually a subset of physical activity that's performed at least at a moderate level, meaning your heart rate's up, your breathing rate's up, you're really challenging your components of physical fitness and really developing those. And the components of physical fitness we talked about last week uh, to develop was cardiovascular endurance, muscular strength, muscular endurance, flexibility, and body composition. So, saying that, the question is, which new health related component of physical activity did you add to your exercise routine? So, since last week, is there a new component listed above that you actually added into your exercise routine? Again, you can send a chat or you can unmute your mic. Any comments, any changes, any additions? Okay. All right. Well, just moving forward, just always keep in mind of these components of physical fitness to work on, to develop. And if there's one or more that you're not doing, it would definitely be beneficial to add in at least one or more of those. Okay. All right. Well, we will go ahead then and move on. So today's topic is about overcoming physical activity barriers. Okay. Now, when you had a chance to look in your program booklet, you see it was numerous pages of about 12 different common barriers that people experience as far as physical activity. And with those 12 common barriers, it did give you a host of strategies that you can use for each one of those barriers. Now, what we're going to do today, we're not going to go over all of the barriers and all of the strategies. Instead, what we're going to do is I would like to know If you do have a barrier or barriers to being more physically activity, I want you to either unmute your mic or send me a chat on what that barrier or barriers are. And then we're going to take those and we're going to go over some strategies for what you noted. Okay, so that's how we're going to approach today. So if anybody wants to start off, either unmuting your mic or sending a chat, what barrier or barriers do you have? Is it lack of time? Is it lack of motivation, lack of energy, lack of social support, lack of knowledge, etc., etc., etc.? Okay, so let me look at each one of these. Okay. So Tor said one is lack of time. Okay, looking at a previous chat here based on the last slide, Sabrina said she did not add anything new to her routine. Yep. So she's taking hot yoga. Yeah, so that works on some strengthening, some flexibility. Hot Pilates, same thing. Sculpt, yeah, muscular strength, muscular endurance. Good. Okay. So again, anybody else that wants to list what your barrier or barriers are. And again, that's what we're going to talk about today. And again, you might not have a barrier. You might have, you know, uh, totally, being really physically active and you have no barriers at all. Okay, so there's one. Also, some days a lack of energy after work. Anybody else? Any other takers? So far, two that we're going to look at is lack of time and lack of energy, specifically after work. Okay, got another one. Lack of energy and physical limitations. All right. I get with the children and things, do at home, it's bedtime. All right. Okay. So we're going to look at these three barriers that you mentioned: lack of time, lack of energy, especially after work, which two people mentioned that, and then physical limitations. Okay. So first of the three, lack of time. Again, some strategies that you can use to overcoming this. And I will say before we start with these strategies, being physically active, specifically set exercise, does require really making it a priority in your life, I think, to fully reach those goals. All right. So I definitely like to start off saying that. So the first one you mentioned is lack of time. That's where it's very important to identify some available time slots. So they recommend, with this lack of time, to monitor your daily activities for one solid week. All right. From that, you identify at least 5 30-minute time slots that you could use for physical activity, and then schedule that activity into your daily routine. So that's one strategy to use. Another strategy they recommend to use is to add physical activity to your daily home and or your work routine. For example, you can take walk breaks at work. That's a great way to do it. Plus, you can get a buddy with you for accountability, and I think that would help with motivation. Also, walking the dog, taking the stairs if you can instead of the elevator. Maybe while you're watching television, you can do some exercises. When you go to, say, Walmart or Kroger or whatever, instead of trying to find a parking place right by the door, park a little bit further away and walk and get some of those steps. Also, things like working in the yard and the garden can be just general common chores activity that you can add into your daily routine. Even as you're viewing this PowerPoint slide, you can do some little bitty exercises, some little squats, some little push-ups on your desk, do some stretching, anything like that. Another strategy, if you don't have time to do a 30-minute sustained workout, you can break it up into several mini workouts throughout the day. Say, for example, you might do 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes on your lunch break, and 10 minutes when you get home. So you can do those mini workouts if you just do not have enough time to set aside 30, 45 minutes or so for exercise. Also, a strategy under lack of time is take advantage of any type of work-based physical activity facilities or programs. So if you have any of those programs or facilities at your location, I'm not sure you do, take advantage of those. Also, a recommendation for lack of time is when you're having meetings, especially if the weather is good outside, maybe think about holding some walking meetings or conference calls. Uh, Also, like I said, if you're viewing a meeting, if you're on a conference call, you can always stand, stretch, or move around if possible. Okay. Also, they recommend to, maybe write yourself some reminder notes or maybe set your watch or your cell phone alarm to specify a certain time to be active. Okay. So again, that is some strategies that you can use for lack of time. So that's one you mentioned. Oh, okay. I got a chat here. So Carrie said she breaks her workouts up. She does 15 in the morning and 15 after work. Yes, so that is a exact example or strategy you can use if you really don't have time to designate 30, 45 minutes or so to one sustained workout. Yeah. So that is a great strategy. All right. So the next thing y'all mentioned, two of the three, is lack of energy. Lack of energy. Some strategies you can use there that they recommend is to schedule physical activity for specific times in the day or week when you feel more energetic. Okay. And I know several of you, I think Sabrina, Tora mentioned lack of energy after work. So that would be a good opportunity to look at doing some physical activity earlier in the day and schedule that when you do have a little bit more energy. Okay. Also, they recommend, again, try a morning dose of exercise. That's a great way to get your day started as well. Also, they recommend, especially if you have lack of energy later in the day, is make your lunchtime count. All right. By maybe going for a brief walk, taking the stairs if you're physically able to, or whatever. And then they recommend to really look at your sleep habits, your sleep patterns, making sure you're getting enough rest, make sure you're fueling your body with the proper foods as well. So that's strategies for energy. And then the last one is having physical limitations. Yeah. Physical limitations do put some limitations on being active, okay? But there are also numerous exercises you can do uh, that do not target maybe the areas of your body that you have some limitations, okay? So there are definitely a lot of exercises out there to make sure it's not targeting those areas for limitations. And I will say I guess, one of the best forms of exercise, number one in general, but number two for physical limitations is doing exercise in the water. If you're a member of a fitness facility that has an indoor pool and they offer, say, water aerobic classes, or if they offer open lane swimming or water walking, that would be an awesome form of exercise for you if you have any physical limitations, because it does take those limitations and throw them out the window. So that would be a great opportunity there. All right. So again, those are the three that you all listed as far as a barrier. Now, before we move on to a question, is there any other barrier that you might have that wasn't mentioned here? Okay. All right. Which now takes us to one discussion question. And that one discussion question is, and I know Carrie already mentioned one strategy. It says, what strategy can you use to overcome this barrier or barriers? So we did mention lack of time, uh, you know, lack of energy, especially later in the day, and then physical limitations. Like I said, Carrie did mention one, which was she takes her break for her workouts 15 in the morning, 15 after work as well. So she does those mini workouts to help with the lack of time. So does anybody else want to maybe from what we just talked about or what maybe you read, what strategy that you can use to overcome a barrier or barriers? Again, you can unmute your mic or you can chat. Okay, so yeah. So Patty said one strategy, and this does again relate to energy. Plus, it also can relate to motivation too, uh, is to get plenty of sleep. Yeah, getting enough rest. All right, anyone else? All right. Okay, well, we will move on, and this will be kind of a short one for us today. So your action steps for the week. Okay, I've got Sabrina said she looks at the rewards. She's able to walk up the stairs with ease. Her joints feel better. Also, eating a small energy bar or piece of fresh fruit helps. Yeah. So again, a strategy right there is as far as energy level, eating a small energy bar or a piece of fruit. Motivation, the rewards that you get from exercise. Good. So thank you. All right. So, your action steps for the week are to identify your physical activity barrier or barriers and then create some strategies to overcome them to make physical activity part of your daily life. Okay. Also, don't forget about the application of your fundamentals. They are extremely important. And then next week's topic, we're actually, and this is kind of a good segue from what, like Patty said, is we're going to look at the importance of sleep. So we're going to look at both the quantity and the quality of your sleep. And then last but not least, of course, next Tuesday, I will send everyone the tracker to be turned in next Wednesday. So any questions or comments before we go for the day? Any questions or comments before we go for the day? All right. Well, if you do have questions or comments, you definitely can reach out to me over email or call my office. You'll definitely get some time back into your day. Once this recording is uploaded to YouTube, I will email it to everyone. So other than that, thank y'all. I hope y'all have a good day.